Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very exciting topic, and that is animal farming. As you can see behind me, we've been working really hard on building up these farms. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to tame, how to breed, how to capture, how to utilize these animals in the best way possible. So I'm very excited about this episode as it's a very needed skill to have, especially early game, and we definitely want to learn all that we can learn about this and why we only breed certain types of animals. So let's jump right into the topic. Animal farming is a very easy task if you understand how it works. But some may not understand or have never tried their hand at it. They just go out and find animals in the wild and kill them, or try to find animals, as much as they can, or go through farming and farming potatoes or carrots or something of that nature instead of actually breeding up animals. And I find that this is much easier to do, is to capture all of these animals in these fence posts within these walls, and to go ahead and breed them up so that I always have a good food source available throughout the game. Now, sure, there's a lot of good automatic farms, and we definitely might be building some of those automatic farms later on. But for the early game, what I like to do is to create these animal pens here, and it looks like a chicken has gone out. Hey, what are you doing? I'm on to you, buddy. Yep, I see you. But our animals can be in a great food source early game, and yeah, we could build automatic farms, and we probably will build automatic food farms later on. But for right now, I definitely want to get into how we can get these animals into these fence posts, how we can go ahead and breed them so we can get as many cows as I have right here, or sheep like I've got over here. See? All these intruders. Look at this pig in here, too. How we can tame horses, or how we can even play around with some of the more fun animals that wouldn't be good food sources, like cats and dogs and birds, tropical birds. And so, yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. First, we'll start with the chickens, because the chickens are a little bit unique in the fact that not only can you just use a sword on them to get the chicken and the feather, but you can also breed them another way. As you can see, these chickens are dropping these little chicken eggs all over here as they are just walking around. And we can breed chickens by just doing this, by taking these eggs and collecting all the eggs, and then by throwing them. But as you can see, I had about 14 in my hand, and I got one baby chicken out of that. So it's sort of a good method to kind of breed them up, but it's not always the most effective method when it comes to breeding chickens. There's an even better method, and that's just by using wheat seeds, or just as they're called, seeds. And as you can tell, as soon as I put the seeds in my primary hand, what that did was it brought all the chickens to me. So that's kind of how I captured the chickens, is by putting seeds in my regular hand. And watch, if I were to jump into this farm right here, look at what they do. They follow me around. And so if I were to take these off of my primary hand, now the chickens have dispersed. They could care less about who I am, what my name is, or anything like that. So that's how you would gather chickens to bring them into the fence post. And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll set up these little carpets, which is just wool. I'll show you that in just a minute. But this wool that I can put in the corner of the fence that allows me to enter and exit the fenced area without actually putting a gate in, which you can definitely do, but as soon as you open the gate, the animals can escape as well. So I prefer the wool carpet as opposed to the gates, because with the wool carpet I can get in and out, but the animals have no way to get in and out through that wool carpet. So now let's go ahead and show you what it takes to breed up these chickens. So now I have the seeds in my hand. I've captured them in my pens because I've lured them by having them follow me around until we get into here, and then I switch it to my offhand. I quickly run out and I close off the fence, and then they're all trapped within my fenced area. Now I want to go ahead and have more than just these few chickens, because these few chickens aren't going to be enough for a good food source. So now I can take and say, hey there, little buddy, I'm going to feed you this by just right clicking on the mouse, and then I'm going to right click on this one with the seeds, and now what they're going to do is they're in love, and they're going to make some romance, and then next thing you know, we have a little baby chicken. It's just that simple. But these are just for the chickens. The seeds only work for the chickens. They also work for the birds, but we'll talk about those specialty animals in just a little bit. The sheep and the cow can be lured around, as you can tell here, by the wheat in my hand. So that wheat that I've been working on growing can actually lure in all these sheep and all these cows and allow them to come into my farm. And then I breed them up the same way by right clicking each one of them. And then if two of them are in love, they will go ahead and make baby sheep or baby cows. Now, so those are how you would breed and draw into your farm those sheep and those cows. Now, pigs have a different way of pulling those ones in, and that's through carrots. So I've got this little rogue pig in here, and it actually worked out in my favor because, as you can tell, as I'm carrying around this carrot right here, the pig is trying to get to me as best as he can through all these sheep and follow me around to go ahead and breed him up. So if I had one more pig in here, I just had to do the same thing. Right click, feed him the carrot, feed the other pig the carrot, and then they would make little baby pigs. The more you do it, the larger your farm gets, the easier it gets to breed more and more cows, more and more chickens, more and more sheep, because each two that you feed with that will breed up and add extra to it. So if I could do this one, so now I've done 4, I've fed 4 now, I've fed 6, so each one of those is going to produce a baby sheep. So now I just made 3 baby sheep. Now I could do that with all of these and go through this whole stack of wheat pretty easily, and we could have a ton more baby sheep. So the more cows that I have, or the more sheep that I have, the faster I can go through and breed those animals. Now, I did decide to only do cows and sheep and chickens because those are better food sources, and we'll talk about saturation in just a little bit and why I chose to only do these animals and then to do horses. So yeah, we'll talk about that in just a minute, and we'll talk about saturation and food quality and why I went ahead and went with these animals specifically in my pens. But next, let's jump over here to the horses. The horses are they're a different type of animal in the fact that you can go ahead and you don't really necessarily have to make them follow you, although you can do that with the golden carrot. You can make them follow you around, but the easiest way to go ahead and capture a horse is with a saddle. You can find a saddle near some some mob spawners, such as like a spider spawner, in some like jungle temples or monuments or different things like that throughout the world. But you can also find it by just going fishing. So I created this automatic fish farm over here so that I could get a few saddles, and there's some great videos online about how you can make these little automatic fish farms. And I have my fishing rods in here that I went ahead and used, and I set this up. And this is a great way to go ahead and fish up some good resources. Like there's some books, enchanted books in there. There's some bones. You could get fish is a good food source, and so that's been a great start early game for me to kind of get some of these supplies. You see, I have the raw salmon, the raw cod, the puffer fish, the tropical fish. I was able to get leather, even some leather boots and other things like name tags and lily pads, and even some enchanted books. So we've got these great enchanted books that are good early game. So this is a good way to early game get supplies like that, a good food source like this, and then a saddle for our horses. Now, horses are valuable because they're a good way to transport around the world early game. So you see I have this horse here. If I had never ridden this horse before, then all I would have to do is right click it. he would walk around because I have no control over him right now because I don't have a saddle on him. And he would walk around and then he would either buck me off where next thing I know I'm right here on the ground and he's kicking me off of him, or I would get back on him again and I would try to do this and ride him around. And eventually, after doing that maybe a few times of him bucking me off, me getting back on, him bucking me off, and me getting back on, eventually he would have hearts that would show up around him. That's how you know that you've tamed him. Once you've tamed him, you can hit the E key on your keyboard and you can go ahead and take this saddle out of your inventory, put it on him, and now you have control over him as a horse. So look at this. Now I can walk and run around the world and see all sorts of crazy, awesome things like this gold farm that James has built, which is super awesome. And then we could come back over here to our farm, and it's a much faster way to transport around the world than just simply by walking or running. Not only that, it's also helpful for me as a player because it doesn't take up as much food. If I were to climb this whole mountain, I wouldn't have to keep eating just to climb this mountain. So it actually saves me on food resources as well by using a horse to get around and to transport myself around the world. They do jump over the fence when you first get them in, but then once I jump off of them, they'll stay within those fence guides. And so these are really helpful animals. Now, I did want to mention there's another way that you can lead animals, and that's with a lead. It's kind of like a leash, but for all animals, including horses and chickens and sheep and cows or whatever you want to do. Oops, I did not mean to do that. All right, we're going to show you horse breeding right now because I accidentally did that. So by breeding a horse, by right-clicking in a golden carrot, you can breed a horse and they will make a baby horse. Now, if you find a horse that can jump really fast or jump really high, I'm sorry, or run really fast, you want to take those two horses and you want to breed them up into a baby horse. That baby horse will grow up into one of these bigger grown-up horses, and then when it does, you can right-click it like I just talked about, and you can tame it. Now, say for example, I jump on this horse, I get out of here, out of the pen, and I'm riding around on him, and I need to go ahead and go back to my home over here, but I don't have a fence that I can put them inside. So what I can do is I can attach him to just a single fence post with a lead. So I can take it and right click him like that. And now I can go over here and I can attach him to that, and he's stuck on there. They are able to break out off of the leads occasionally, but it's actually pretty difficult. And then when I'm ready to jump back on him, I just right click him again and I break that lead, and now you see I can go over here and pick up that lead and I can ride him around again and bring him back into that fenced area within my base. So typically when I'm going adventuring, what I'd like to do is bring a fence post with me or just dig a hole and stick him in, but really a fence post and a lead is a really good option to be able to take him around. Now say I do also take him out of here, or I have a cow or a sheep or a chicken that I want to capture, and I don't have any wheat or seeds quite yet, but I do have a lead that I found from a wandering trader. Now I'm able to leash this horse, and I'm able to basically walk him like you would walking a pet at home. You can lead him around in the area, and you can have him follow you, and now he's following you wherever you go. Now, again, these leads can break. It's very unlikely, but if I walk faster than this horse can walk, or I'm running faster, then sometimes if I run out of their running distance, then they do break away from me. And to take it off of them, you just right click them or attach them to a fence post, and now you can put them back in there. But you can do that with all of these animals. You can do that with a chicken, you can do that with a cow, you can do that with a horse. See, I can take these two chickens and say I wanted to break open this fence post. I can grab all of these chickens, or up to 12 since I have 12 leads, and I can attach them to this fence post right here. If, say, I want to expand this area like I would need to do soon for those cows, and then now I would have another way to lead the animals around, or to basically trap them but open up this fenced area to allow them to grow. There are some other fun animals that really don't have like food value, but that are also good resources to have available to you. So, for instance, there's the cat here, and the cat, oh, this is a good example right here. Wandering traders have these llamas that follow them, and while not condoning, the murder of someone's pets, the llamas that follow him around, if you were to kill them, you see they drop these leads that he is carrying. This is the best source of leads, and the best way to get those leads. So if you're ever wondering what you can do to get those leads, that's going to be the way you can get those leads, and then you can trade with this guy and whatnot, and he won't be too mad at you. Now that I've got so many of these cows grown up, what I can go ahead and do is I can kill the cow, and now I've got leather and raw beef that I can utilize, and I'm actually going to eat too, real quickly, that I can take to a furnace and eat so I can fill back up that hunger bar that I'm filling up right now with these baked potatoes. So that's really helpful. The leather is going to be helpful for books, or so those are going to be helpful later on. So that's why I decided to do cows. Cows and pigs will fill up your hunger bar the same amount, but pigs only drop raw pork, while cows will drop raw beef and will also drop leather, which is useful for books. So that's why I went ahead and went with cows instead of pigs, or just adding in a pig, because there's really the same amount of, they'll fill up the same amount of hunger, but cows are more valuable because of the leather. The reason why I breed up sheep is because of this right here. Sheep drop wool. So if I were to make myself some shears in a crafting table, they just take 2 iron right next to each other, just like this. So if I had 2 iron on me, I could make these, I could grab them, and I could have a pair of shears. Now what I could do is I could come over to the sheep, and I could use these shears on the sheep to go ahead and get their wool. Wool can be used to craft beds or other valuable items like these carpets right here. And so they're really, really valuable for those reasons. And that's why I decided to go ahead and do sheep. These animals over here are valuable for different reasons. So, for example, let's go ahead and say here that I wanted to go ahead and go sleep for the night. Well, now I have this little cat here that I've gotten up, and I want to go and sleep in my bed for the night because it's nighttime. The cool thing about cats is they do roam, just like they would in real life. But as soon as you try to go to bed, a lot of times if they're near you, they will go ahead and they will sleep on top of you. So typically you can see if the cat is near you, it'll come and jump up with you on the bed. And then sometimes we'll even give you a present of an item that you'll just wake up and be like, hey, how did I get that? And it was because the cat gave it to you when he went to sleep in your bed. So thank you, sir. Not only that, they are also a creeper preventative. So if a creeper is going towards your base and then it sees a cat, it's like, nope. And it runs away from the cat. And so if you breed up a lot of cats and stick them just sitting around your base, they would actually be super valuable in preventing creepers from getting into, like, say, for example, your animal pens. So I've got the area lit up with torches, but these are ugly. And if I wanted to take away some of these torches that are just sitting everywhere and just put some creepers up here, that would prevent a lot of the animals from spawning, or the creepers from coming into this area. The dogs are a great animal, and by I make him sit by right clicking, so I can make him not sit by right clicking again, and he will follow me around. So, say for example, I want to go on an adventure, and I want to take my dog with me. I just get him up, and he will now teleport, or he will follow me. If I get too far away from him, and he's not able to catch up, he will actually teleport to me. You see, he was way back there and now he's way up here because he teleported to me. Dogs are great companions in that if you get attacked by a zombie or you get attacked by a creeper or I'm sorry, a skeleton or anything like that, or if you decide you're going to attack an animal, the dog will either protect you or will attack alongside you. Now, with this comes some, you've got to be careful. If you're swinging a sword at this sheep right here and the dog decides to join in and help you, you've got to be careful where you're swinging that sword. Otherwise, you may injure your dog as well. But say, for example, I wanted this sheep, so I go over here and I hit this sheep. See, now my dog is going to come over here and he is going to help me to protect me from this dangerous sheep. You see right there what he did was he protected me from that very dangerous sheep. And now I've got the sheep droppings from when they had died over there. And so we've got that as a valuable option for dogs. How you tame dogs is with a bone. So you can feed them a bone. Now, sometimes it's not just one bone. It can take, I don't know. One time I feel like I fed the dog 20 bones before I finally was able to tame the dog. And so the dog does take a lot of bones sometimes to be able to feed him. The cool thing about a dog, too, is that when you have the dog, now you can feed them something like, say, for example, that raw mutton that we just got. When your dog is injured, their tail will lower. So you see how high these tails are right now? If they're injured, their tail will get a little bit lower the more that they're injured. I hate to injure my dog, but you see how his tail just lowered a little bit? It's not pointing directly up. But now when I feed him this mutton, his tail will go back up and that will heal him. So you can feed him any sort of like beef or steak or pork in either raw or whole. You can feed him even as you can feed him rotten flesh. So if you're out fighting some zombies to get some XP, and you had some rotten flesh in your inventory, you could also feed them that as well, and that'll bring them back to full health. So when their tail is at its lowest, that's when it's at its lowest health. But when its tail is all the way up and pointing up like it is right now, that's when they're at their highest health. And so that can be super valuable to you. And I think I accidentally made a bird sit up, which is really fun because now I have a parrot sitting on my shoulder. Hello there, friend. This is why parrots are so much fun. Now, to go ahead and tame them, all you'll need is some seed, and you can go ahead and tame a parrot. And all you have to do is, if you see a wild parrot out in the wild over here in the jungle biome, then you can go ahead and find parrots all over. I'm sure if we kept walking around, we can find a parrot wandering out in the wild because we are in a jungle biome in this village. Once we find that bird, the tropical bird out in the wild, we can go ahead and even if it's flying, we can right click it. Now I'm not going to find one, of course. I may post a link of a video where I was able to find one so that you can see what I mean by taming them. Even if they're flying, you can right click on the tropical birds and you'll be able to tame them. It may take a couple seeds, but eventually you will be able to grab those birds and tame them. And how you know you tame them is if you're able to make them sit. See how this bird is sitting right here? I can make him stand up or sit down. If I'm able to make him sit and he's got hearts around him, then I know that I have now tamed the bird. And then the bird will follow me around on my shoulder. Eventually, if I go into a building or something, he might come off of my shoulder and I'm able to do it. Now, forewarning from experience and a terrible tragedy, um, don't take these birds into the nether. It won't end well. So you definitely don't want to do that. I don't believe he's on my shoulder now. Yep, nope, see, he left. Now I can take him, now that he's off of my shoulder, and I can go ahead and stick a lead on him so that he doesn't come back on my shoulder. So, hey there, friend. So let's go ahead and lead him, and then now he'll follow me, but without jumping on my shoulder, and I'm able to bring him back over to this farm area where I am able to have him sit and just hang out. The parrots don't really, or tropical birds really don't add any value to you as a character. They might mimic some mob sounds or something like that, but they really don't add any value to you as a player. I just think they're really cool to have one hanging out on my shoulder, and it's the talk of the town when you go to a server party and you just have a bird hanging out on your shoulder. And so that's why I just think they're neat animals to go ahead and do. So yeah, and then to breed these animals up, so to breed a cat up, you're going to use raw cod. And I actually don't think I mentioned this, but in order to tame a cat, you can use raw fish to be able to tame him. Now, these cats can be wily, and so you have to be really careful because cats don't like to be tamed. And so if you see a cat out in the wild, you're gonna have to sneak up on them and kind of hit them a couple times with that raw cod before they're finally like, hey, I kind of like you. So let's see if we can sneak up on this cat that's over here in the corner. Hey there, friend. Oh, no! Come back. I just want to love you. Oh, got him once. Ah, see, now he's mine. So that cat is now tamed, but you see how I kind of had to shift to sneak up on him, and finally when I got him, now he's my little cat over here. And so now he's gonna go around and hang out, and then eventually, if I go to sleep, I can finally find him again. So I'm just gonna leave this buddy sitting right here, and that way, if any creepers spawn in this area and this golem isn't able to get to him, maybe the cat will scare him off from and protect my home from those evil, wicked creepers. And so that's super helpful as well. That's pretty much the very basics of animal taming and animal feeding and care. Really, honestly, there's many more animals out there. There's pigs, there's donkeys, there's all sorts of different animals. There's cheetahs, there's pandas. Well, pandas are so cool. If you ever find a panda out in the jungle, you should definitely feed them some bamboo. Just right click if you have some bamboo in your hand, and it is an awesome way to watch a panda eat some bamboo. So if you ever do that, just if you're out in the jungle and you see a panda, you gotta try it. It's awesome. So there are other animals that we didn't touch on in this video, but that's just, I mean, there's so many animals. These are the ones that I find the most valuable and the ones that I thought would be most important to you early game. The dogs are just super helpful overall. As you're exploring and adventuring around your world, you're definitely going to want to use those dogs to try and help you out in the wild with even just getting sheep or getting cows or chickens or whatever it is for your food early game. They will definitely be a great help to you. Now, I was able to fish and get a lot of the XP that I have now. So I was able to enchant a lot of my gear. So like if you look right here, my helmet has respiration, protection, and aqua affinity. My boots have feather falling, which is so helpful. So and then this bow I was able to get from fishing. So fishing is a valuable way to go ahead and get a lot of these things out here. Or even this sword has looting and sharpness and fire aspect. All super helpful things that we are able to do, all because we were able to fish and get this gold farm slash XP farm going. This gold farm that James made is awesome. And he used a combination of a couple different YouTubers' farms, and he's slowly trying to convert it from deep slate into gold completely by using gold blocks for it. But if you come down here, you can see that we'll gather a lot of rotten flesh and gold nuggets. And he has this set up to a sorting system to automatically sort and filter out things like gold swords that wouldn't be necessarily um, able to be sorted because of their durability. You kind of have to have exact durability to put it in the sorting system. And so we definitely like the gold farm for XP so we can get better enchantments on our equipment so that it helps us out a little bit. And so this is one way we can do it, but also gather some gold. And you can see here the filter system. So he's got 41 gold nuggets. And I'm not going to try and explain this on this video. That'll be for another time. But yeah, he has 41 and then papers that are named so that they never get all mixed up and then the gold farm doesn't break. But this is a great way early game, if you're a little more advanced, to be able to start killing these zombie piglins, to be able to get experience points on the server, to be able to now do this, which I wasn't the last one to throw the trident, so it's not going to give me any XP right now, and I'm not going to go into that a whole lot. Now that I have these 30 levels, though, what I can go ahead and do is, James also set up this enchantment setup, is if I wanted to add to this sword right here, an enchantment on the sword, to kind of give it some extra, little bit of help for me. So for this one, I could get sharpness 4 by sticking in the lapis that I found while caving. And then because I have 30 experience levels, I can take 3 of my experience levels plus 3 lapis, and I can add sharpness to this sword. Now, I'm not going to do it. Let's see what we can do with this pickaxe over here. That one's already enchanted. This one is not. So for this one, I can get an efficiency 4 on it, efficiency 1, or efficiency 1, just based on what level I am. And so if you can get up to level 30, that'll kind of help you along the way. But now that we have all this raw material, I wanted to go ahead and set up a array of what do you call it? These blast furnaces and furnaces, so that it's self-feeding. And this is really where the value of the lava farm that we build on the first episode came into effect, because the lava farm is going to fuel these furnaces so that we can go ahead and get some furnaces going here. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and do this. I'm going to go ahead and block out this area right here. So I'm going to clean up all this, and I'm actually going to go sleep really quickly just because I'm tired of all this rain and I'm tired of all the darkness. So you can really see this furnace setup that we're going to be working on. And let me go ahead and also switch out my inventory from all the stuff that I was utilizing to show you the animal farms. And let's go ahead and throw in all of these materials for the next farm that we're going to be looking at. So let me do that. And then let me grab all these right here. Let me throw that in because I really don't need that. And then we'll grab the rest of the stuff in just a minute so I can show you some of what I've been talking about right here. And then, yeah, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'll throw this bone. Oh, I don't have any more space in there. All right, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to build an array. So you see here I have 2 furnaces, 1 blast furnace, and 1 smoker. Now, this is a good starting point, but most of the time we'll expand on these as well. And if I wanted to go in here and I wanted to type in blast furnace, I actually need to click a crafting table. Let's go over here to the crafting table and let's look at this. So you can see the recipes. If you ever need to know how to make something, if you come in here to your crafting table and you type in blast furnace right here, it's going to tell you that you need iron ingots, that you need a furnace, and that you need some smooth stone. Smooth stone is going to be by smelting. So if you were to smelt cobblestone into stone and then smelt stone into smooth stone, that's how you would get smooth stone. Iron, we've already gotten a bunch of iron. That's just from finding raw iron in a mine and then mining it up. Now, say for instance, you don't know how to make a furnace. You can go in here and type in furnace, and you can find a furnace, and it's going to tell you you just need 8 cobble around in a circle, and that'll get you a furnace. So you could do the same thing with the smoker as well. So the smoker is going to require a 4 oak, or it could really be any log, and then 1 furnace in the middle. That's going to get you the smoker. The smoke or the furnace is going to be your slowest method of cooking. The blast furnace and the smoker are going to be much faster methods of getting what you need, but they also cost a little bit more. they also can't do certain things. So I'm going to show you that in here in just a minute. So what I went ahead and did is put those 4 chests right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in a hopper onto each one of these as well. The hopper is facing downwards. What I did was I hit shift, and then I right clicked on each one of these chests, and that went ahead and dropped the hopper into place. Now I'm going to shift and then right click again, and I'm going to drop these furnaces into their spots. It could be in any order. This is just the easiest way for me to do it right here. Now I'm going to come to the back of this right here, and I'm going to throw on a hopper by shift and right clicking the back of all of these furnaces up here. So now you see I've got the chest on the bottom. I've got the hoppers going into the chest. I've got the furnaces right here, all the different types of furnaces and smokers and all of that. And then I've got these hoppers on the back. Now, what I'm going to do is let me see if I've got my scaffolding. Yes, scaffolding is a great resource early game, and maybe here in just a minute I'll be able to show you how this works. But I'm going to get on my scaffolding and I'm going to jump up here. I'm also going to add a hopper on the back of each one of these right here. Perfect. And I put directional hoppers as a resource pack on my world. It just kind of helps me to see where those hoppers are pointing. So you see right here, it's got the little red arrow. That means that it's pointing towards this thing. That means that if you were to put items in it, it's just going to go into the smoker. But with this one, it's going to go to anything down below it. So that's just super helpful for me to be able to see if I placed it correctly, and so that's just my way of doing that. All right, now that I've got those in place, I'm going to go ahead and add on some chests. So same thing, shift right click. But with these ones, if I shift right click like this, sometimes it'll attach, but sometimes it won't. So if it doesn't, just break it and then go ahead and try it again, and it should work for you. All right, let me see if I can jump up here and get that last one in place. Perfect. And then, okay, now I'm going to come back here and I'm going to add a chest onto each one of these hoppers up here. And it looks like I'm just a few short. It's okay. We can go ahead and make those a little later. So now we have all the chests up here, except for those two, which we'll definitely go ahead and make. And let me explain to you how this works. So with a furnace, you can do things like stone to, like we were talking about earlier, cobblestone to stone and stone to smooth stone. You could also do anything from raw beef to copper to iron. The furnace is really it can do everything. However, the furnace is probably a little bit slower than some of these blast furnaces over here or the smokers at cooking certain items. So I have the furnaces because the blast furnace and the smoker cannot cook cobblestone into stone. They're just not capable of that. So I have these here for items like that. I have this here for items like raw copper or iron, raw iron. So any one of the metals that you can find, like the copper, the iron, the gold, things like that, you can put into a blast furnace, and will cook it significantly faster than what you would if you were to put it just in a regular furnace right here. So that's why I decided to go with the blast furnace. The smoker would be the same, but for food items. So, like if I were to put raw cod in there, or raw potato, or just potatoes in there to get baked potatoes, raw beef, any raw pork, anything like that, and it'll go ahead and cook it faster. Now, let me go ahead and show you how this works. So, on the back, you have these ones that are laid out, and they are connected to the back of the furnaces. So, in here, this is going to be where you add in your fuel source. I add them in the chest because eventually I'm going to fill up these chests. And what that's going to go ahead and do is that's going to fill up the item hopper that's behind here. And then it's going to take it and it's going to drop it into the slot right here. So now you have a self-feeding furnace. This is going to continuously feed itself. So if this lava bucket runs out, it's going to drop the bucket into this chest down here. Excuse me. But then it's also going to fill a new lava bucket in that place because it's in the correct spot and it's dropping the lava buckets in here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop at least one. Let's drop two in each one of these chests in the back. Now, if you're like, hey, you put them in there and then they disappeared, well, that's because it filled into this hopper right here. So you can see all those lava buckets. So this can hold up to 5, and then the chest holds any extra beyond that 5 number that can be held in the hopper. So now that I've got this, let me go ahead and show you what I mean by um, so let's go ahead and drop into here and drop into here our iron ores so you can see how much faster the blast furnace does those raw metals than what the furnace does. So let's go ahead and drop the raw iron into this one, and let's drop the raw iron into this one. And now see both of those are cooking. It's already gone through one lava bucket, so it's going to drop that empty bucket into the bottom here. We could just take that bucket, run over here to our lava farm, scoop up another bucket of lava, and go ahead and drop that into the back chest right here. And now we have our next bucket of lava. So the more we fill up those chests, the better it's going to be for our furnaces. So now I've got some raw iron cooking. You can see this one has barely gone through 3 iron to ingots, and this one has gone through 7. So as you can tell, certain materials, they're significantly faster to be able to do that. Say I wanted to throw in all this iron that I have right here and all this copper. I believe I have some more. Nope. That's it for now. So all this copper right here. So now it's going to continuously fill this up. And then so see how it has 64 right now. It's going to continuously, see it went 63, then 64 again. It's going to continuously fill the top path. And then when it's done blasting it right here, it's going to drop that ingot into these bottom chests right here. And now I have where I can collect all my resources. The only downside to this is sometimes the XP doesn't get to the player, but I find that I just like to drop these in here. So drop all this in here and then just walk away and not have to worry about it. Or say I have like 12 stacks of potatoes, rather than continuously filling or having a ton of chests that I have to constantly fill, I'm just going to drop them in here now, and it's just going to cook them, and I can walk away and not really think about it. And so I find that super helpful for me early game. I'll go ahead and add 2 chests on here. But like I said, these chests up here is where you drop the materials for them to cook. The chest in the back here, you're going to drop all your fuel sources. So you can even drop planks or coal if you wanted to do that instead of the lava source. And then these chests right here are going to fill up with your buckets, or they're going to fill up with your materials that you're smelting. And that's how this array works. Now, I did want to talk briefly, and then we'll be done for the day, about saturation. So I put on here a little resource pack that kind of helps you to see a little bit of the saturation for all these different items. So if I were to eat raw chicken, you see right there where it has that little hunger icon that's been filled. Well, that will only fill up one of these little hunger bars at the bottom right above my bow. That's kind of now how I know how hungry I am. So if I eat a raw chicken, that's only going to give me 1. So say I cook the chicken, now it'll fill up 3 of my hunger bars. And then there's something called saturation. So it's like when you eat a pudding cup at home. If you eat the pudding cup versus eating something a little bit more filling, like say pasta, for example, a pudding cup is not going to fill you up as much as pasta is going to fill you up. You could eat the same amount of it. That's what's called saturation. So if I were to eat a carrot, even though it fills up 2 hunger bars, it doesn't last as long. I get hungry faster because I've eaten the carrot. But if I eat something like a baked potato, that's going to fill my saturation faster. So even though they fill up the same amount of hunger on the hunger bar down at the bottom, certain food items will actually last longer and cause me to have to eat less because they fill up what's called saturation, which is something that they don't visualize for you, where you can see at the bottom of your bar. They just show you the hunger that's been filled up, but they don't show you the saturation. something like pork, cooked pork chops, or cooked beef, those are going to last a little bit longer for you than even a baked potato or a cooked chicken. So even though this one fills up 4 and this one fills up 4, this one only fills up 3 hunger bar. And then the saturation for these two are the same. They're going to last longer. Now, there is something called a golden carrot, which I wish I wouldn't have fed those to the horses. It was an accident. But the golden carrot is only going to fill up 2 of your little hunger bars down at the bottom of the screen. However, the golden carrot saturation is higher than the saturation that you would find from the steak. I'm sorry, from the beef or from the pork chop. So even though it doesn't fill up as much of the hunger bar at the bottom, if you were a math person and you like numbers, so the numbers for the saturation for something like a cooked beef or a cooked pork chop is going to fill up 12.5% of your saturation. Whereas a golden carrot is going to fill up about, I think it's like 14.5%, so almost 2% higher, meaning that the golden carrot, even though it doesn't fill up as much of your hunger bar, is going to actually last longer. So you can run more, you can jump more on eating a golden carrot as opposed to eating something like raw beef or raw pork. So the same. So early game, I typically go with baked potatoes. As I build my cow farm, I typically go with beef, and then as I get into my villager trading hall later on, I'll typically go with golden carrots because those are a lot easier to get through the villager trading hall. This is just kind of a simple early farming and food, how to cook food. I think that's really helpful. I think this array of furnaces is also helpful because now look, I've not even thought about it, and it's already gone through a stack plus 10, and it's still feeding in the rest of those resources. So as this raw iron runs out, it's going to drop that copper into the furnace, and then that furnace is going to cook it. So it's kind of a leave it, run away, go do what I need to do around in the area, come back to it, and just grab my resources. If it starts to run out of lava, I just take this bucket, fill it back up, and then I fill up all these chests. As I get more resources, I'm going to have all those chests completely full of lava in each one of them so that I never really have to worry about it. And then as they run out, like I said, I just come over here, I scoop up this lava right here, and then that's what I use for my fuel source. I really hope that today's video was a help to you. I know that it was a help to me when I first had to learn how to do all of this with the animals, especially when it came to saturation and what food was best to eat and what food was just not the greatest for me and my character. And so definitely was a help to me, and so I hope this was a help to you. If it was, would you consider commenting on the video and hitting that like button? Maybe share with us your favorite animal that you like to use in the farms, and why you prefer that over something else. As always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We'd love for you to join us every week as we take on these new topics. I know that next time we're going to be working on some redstone automated farms for some of these crops and different things like that that I think will be a huge help to you if you're just starting out. So definitely join us and don't miss another video. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.